first up.
I'm going to open the Select Board meeting, May 4th, 2020. Also viewed on YouTube link and the town website the day of the meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Here's the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Let's just stay and bow our heads for a few minutes, and please remain standing to honor our servicemen and women serving our country, both here and abroad, past and present, and stay with our heads bowed and pray for all our healthcare workers and our healthcare heroes and everyone on the front lines, please. Thank you very much.
Lost John. There he is.
All right. First up, a little after 6:30. So, application for a common vic license for John George Farms, 291 Slocum Road. What is the pleasure of the board?
Well, before we get about, first of all, welcome home, Mr. George.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Nice to see you. I think this is good news for people who have desperately missed that place for ice cream, that's for sure. I welcome back your attempt to reopen. I was looking at all the information from the department heads, and nobody seems to have an issue with anything, including planning. So I'll make a motion that we approve this common vic license.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the license and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Mr. George, you have your license, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And stay healthy, everybody.
You
Stay
also.
safe.
You
Thank
also,
you.
sir. Yep.
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay, application for common Victor license, Dockside Ice Cream, One Bridge.
Okay.
Pleasure of the board.
This is a change of ownership, right?
Right.
Yes,
And
yes,
this
it is.
Melissa, right?
Melissa Correa is on here. She's
Yeah,
muted.
I see the block there, but I don't see her. Oh, wait a minute. Oh,
I see a Kathleen.
yeah. No.
Me too.
I don't see anyone else.
I saw Melissa's microphone unmute and then mute again. So I'm
I
not
don't
sure
see-
what's
I
going
don't
on.
see the
Now
box.
it's- Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
There you go. All right, so we get to speak to names.
Sorry, I don't know why it's not coming through.
Did you check on the bottom right, left-hand side? It should say video, stop video.
Let's see. Yep, it's there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay, as long as we can hear you. You just recently purchased the property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're going to continue to run the operation the way it's always run?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And the ice cream, where are you going to get the ice cream from?
Cushnet Creamery.
Aha.
All right. I'll make a motion that we approve the license.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion to approve in a second for the common vic at Dockside Ice Cream, new ownership. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? You have your license, ma'am.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you. Stay safe and healthy.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. 634, change of manager. Not Your Average Joe's, 61 State Road, Dartmouth, Mass. Dartmouth, Mass. New manager will be Julia Perkins.
Let's see.
Is Julia in?
Here.
Well, looking at the application, I guess she's currently working there. So
She's
she's
been
already
working there
had,
quite a while.
yeah, so she knows the operation. Everything's right there. So they do a bang up job over there. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? None? Julia, you're the new manager. Good luck. Okay. That's all the appointments. So, new business, COVID-19 update.
Yes, so it's been as much business as usual as possible. I think you've been following some of the statistics from the health department. We had a tour of the field hospital at UMass Dartmouth on Friday. It's a 148-bed facility, 48 cots, I should say. They are cots, but it's a really nice setup, very professionally done. It's going to be a recovery unit, so anyone going there would be on the tail end of their recovery, would be there at the most 2 to 3 days. So that facility was funded through MEMA and FEMA funds and South Coast setup, so it was a really nice facility. And other than that, we're monitoring the governor's orders. There's a new order for face masks as of Wednesday, as everybody knows. And we're just trying to plan out our future schedule in light of this emergency order. So we had a meeting today with the moderator, the town council, the town clerk about town meeting. Still not sure. The order has been extended to the 18th, as you know. I think what's going to happen with this board, you all, is right now we've scheduled. So prior to today, where the first emergency order was supposed to end, last week, the governor Tuesday announced that it would be extended to the 18th. So we're anticipating that the week of May 12th or 11th, he is going to make an announcement on what is going on after the 18th. We've made plans to meet with the moderator, the clerk, town council, myself, and Greg on the 13th, because we're anticipating the governor making some sort of decision for after the 18th. So with that being said, the schedule as it is now is you will review the warrant tonight. Monday on the 11th, you'll vote and sign the warrant, and it needs to be posted by the town clerk on the 15th. So I wanted to talk to this board because if the governor extends his order, this board will have to vote to extend the town meeting date or postpone it. And that would have to be done before the 15th, because according to the calendar, with a June 2nd town meeting, the town clerk needs to advertise the warrant on the 15th. So is this board available on maybe May 14th at any time to have an emergency meeting just to discuss postponing town meeting if possible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, but
Dave?
why,
Yes,
Dave, yes, yep.
yes.
Frank?
I was gonna say, why don't we just postpone it anyway? Because I can tell you that even if everybody gives the go ahead for it to go, I've already had a bunch of people tell me they are not going to go sit in the auditoriums elbow to elbow with people. So unless we get something that speaks about a quorum relaxation, which I know was being discussed at the state level, but I never heard anything else about it. I think we need to postpone it out at some point to some point, so that we have a better chance of either a quorum changing or getting attendance. Because I think we have almost zero chance of getting a quorum at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but I think just where other towns are in the same boat, where no one's really made a decision either way. We thought, a few more days might buy us some time to, if something were to come up, or the governor were to make some decision wholesale, or at the state level, then it might help us. But until then, we thought it was just best to kind of wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, the problem is.
I would add, excuse me, Frank, go ahead.
Nobody shows up. What good is it?
So just raise your hands, guys, when you want to talk. All right, Dave?
There's no need to change the town meeting date right now, but I think if we schedule to meet on the 14th, we should maybe have prepared a date at that time that would work for the end of June, so that if and when we get whatever the reports from the governor, I think we should postpone it, but there's no need to make it now. But why not have town clerk look at the possible dates and just schedule it that night, be done. It's really important to have it, and I think it looks like we could probably have it the end of June. So let's start thinking that way.
Just a reminder, we also have the town election on the 23rd of June.
Yep. Do everything together one time.
Well, that might go to, that just might go. Depends on the governor. So I think we should bring the town clerk in on the 11th.
Right.
To discuss,
14th.
discuss a date. So if we need to meet again on the 14th, then we'll have a definite date, and the meeting will be quick and easy, and we'll vote in that, and we'll be able to go home. Agree, everyone? Everyone?
Fine with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So all right, Sean, we'll invite the town clerk. Yeah. Thank you.
John, are you finished reporting on the COVID-19?
Yes.
I have
Go ahead.
Frank. Yep. Go ahead.
Thanks. I've had 3 complaints about the way some of our businesses are doing things, and I've had a personal observation, and I don't believe the governor's new edict is going to cover all of that. He's talking specifically about at the counter, face-to-face type operations. What I've observed is that even if the person at the counter is wearing a mask, I've seen people in the background that are not wearing a mask, and they're the ones that are preparing the food. I've also been in a place where the counter person is not wearing a mask, and she steps back to cut pizza and box it up. And again, she's not wearing a mask. I think as a board, we need to make a strong statement that we want all food handlers to wear masks, whether they're at the counter or not.
I think so. I mean, look, the effectiveness of the governor's edict should be strong. However, we all know that all the rules are made for everybody, but the people that don't pay attention. It's always that way. It's a handful of people that ruin it for the majority. But we still should make that statement tonight that we expect every restaurant, takeout, any kind of food operation, they have to wear masks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean McDonald.
It should be anybody dealing with the public, no matter what.
All right. Yeah. Right. Yep.
If you allow the public into your building, the public should be wearing a mask, and as employees, they should be wearing masks.
Frank.
Yeah, but I agree with that, but I don't think that goes far enough because, as I said, some of the people are not dealing with the public; they are dealing with the food, though, and that's why I think all food handlers should be required to wear a mask.
That's why it should be couched to say, if you allow the public into your building, all employees in the building should be wearing a mask. That's it.
Period. Yep. And what about food handlers? I mean, they all have food handlers licenses. So if you have a food handler's license, then you need to pay attention to this.
Stanley, if you allow, right, and if you're a restaurant want to go and you do pick up curbside, up. If you're open, wear a mask. Plain and simple. I don't know what else to basically say.
David.
I think we ought to be a little more positive. The reason why our area has been so well in control is because of leadership and people have followed direction. The handful of maniac lunatics who won't follow, I'm sorry they don't, and I hope that they change their mind. If you serve the public, period, you wear a mask, you keep social distances, you follow the governor's leadership, which has been outstanding. He's leading us along a great path. That's why we're under control. Unfortunately, the nursing home type facilities are where we got hit hardest, but that's happened all over the country. People are following rules. They're doing a great job. We just can't let up now. Stay with it. The governor says wear the mask, period. In any public facility where you serve the public, 100% agree. There's no definition there. It's a straight shirt.
Frank.
Yeah, I agree, except what the governor stated is not clear enough, because somebody may be 6 feet away from the counter or from the public, which is what he said, but they're inches away from the food.
Yeah.
That's why I think we need to be
Frank.
clear.
Any building that has public facilities serving the public, you have to wear a mask, whether you're a food handler, in the back, at the cash register, or cleaning you have to have a mask on, period. Any public facilities, period.
But that has to be stated. That's my point.
Why?
Because that's not what the governor said.
No.
So we
So we-
need to say that.
So why can't we go a little further?
Right.
They can't stop us. I mean, this is for the good of the town.
Right.
And we have that with the declaration we passed a few weeks ago. So there's no reason, we have all the right to pass that law for now, temporarily. Hopefully it doesn't last long. Food handlers licenses are in all those places. They have to have a license to handle food. If you have a license to handle food and you deal with whether you're dealing with the public or not, if you're inside or outside, wear a mask, period.
Right.
Any store.
Period. Easy.
All right. Well, this is the New Bedford order. I just brought it up. Whereas, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, in light of the new data about how COVID-19 spreads, along with the evidence of widespread COVID-19 illnesses in communities across the country, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, recently recommended that cloth face coverings be worn in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. Grocery stores, pharmacies. Now, therefore, Mayor John Mitchell and the New Bedford Board of Health, all businesses that are permitted to operate under Governor Baker's March 31st, 2020 order, including but not limited to all food vendors and restaurants, shall require their employees and or agents who receive payment or serve customers, including but not limited to cashiers, baggers, counter attendants, wait staff, drive-through servers, and deliverers, to wear a surgical mask or a cloth face covering that covers the nose and face while performing their duties, unless such employees or agents are otherwise substantially separated from others by a partition. Employees shall supply such surgical masks or cloth face coverings for their employees or agents, and then the violation is $100 a day. So are we meeting next Monday?
Yes, we are.
All right. I'm making a motion that we have the COVID-19 response team look at this New Bedford order and come up with something for us come Monday.
And we'll post it on our website.
In the meantime, we're asking everyone to comply. Wear a mask, social distance.
Starting tonight,
Right.
tonight. You go out tonight to pick up something for dinner, wear a mask, make sure that if you're serving our restaurants in the town of Dartmouth, you need to wear a mask.
Not
Thank you.
just restaurants, all retail stores.
Yeah.
I'll second Sean's motion, but if the group doesn't come up with something the next Monday, then we need to come up with something.
They will.
The motion to wear masks, period. Boom. See ya.
All right. So we'll wait till the 11th, and we'll, in the meantime, we'll ask.
Why are we waiting?
No, we're not going to wait. We'll do it tonight too, but we'll listen to. We can write something up. I don't think we need. It's just common sense.
This
Right.
1 week is one of the critical, it's a very critical week right now.
Yeah. Common
Right.
sense. Wear the darn mask. Seriously.
I mean, you got the governor's order come Wednesday, okay? That it's for the public going into places. And, if there's a place where you enter and they're not wearing masks, speak to the manager, ask him why. And you don't give him another reason why. If it doesn't give you a good reason why, say, okay, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. Right now, every customer walking through the door, every phone call going to a place is a lifesaver for these businesses. You start telling them, I'm not going to be here because you're not providing safety for me. The mask isn't a safety for me. It's a safety for you from me. For the most part.
I know it's frustrating, Sean. I agree with you.
It's just, I don't want to God, I don't want to be heavy-handed in this, but something that seems like common sense is flown out the door.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to clarify what I was talking about, because I don't want some manager to tell me that employee back there is more than 6 feet away from you, so you have no complaint. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Common
Well, I'm
sense,
watching-
please.
Food,
Well,
no matter what.
I'm watching the guy
If
make-
you've got open food and no matter where you are, I mean, first of all, the 6 feet was the initial guidelines. There's been reports that say, it's more than 6 feet.
Right.
These little moisture bubbles coming from us, travel more than 25 feet. I mean, so it's like,
Not funny.
It's all
So-
hot in too.
So I would like the press, all the press that's following this program tonight, to get something out in the paper tomorrow, something on the radio tomorrow, that we implore all of the Dartmouth residents to wear masks, and including if you're outside then you need to wear a mask. You're in a business, you're going to be wearing a mask, please.
Yeah, the governor's message says that, but
Yep.
we need to be clear
Yep.
that we all.
Yep. We just want everybody to cooperate, please. A little common sense, that's all we're begging of you to do, please. All right, energy aggregation contract update.
Yes. So as you know, we have a energy aggregation contract here in town. It's been in place since 2016. A few meetings ago, you had signed off for myself to sign the bid for the town. I think there's 26 communities in total. I've invited Kathy Stanley here. She's our energy manager consultant in town. Kathy's been here about 6 months. Kathy?
Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Actually, it's been about 4, but that's okay.
That time, Kathy's done quite a bit for the town. She's really been an asset in those 4 months. She has a deep understanding of energy, all aspects, and it's been great. She's helped with our Green Community Initiative. She's helped with this contract, and she's also helping with a number of other utilities and projects in town. So, but with this contract, so the bid happened a few weeks ago. We actually got a very favorable rate. We currently pay 0.1043 cents per kilowatt hour. The new rate starting in 21 is going to be 0.103.5. And so that's very favorable. But I know last time we had some discussion about the plans and the options for the town. It got confusing, so I asked Kathy to come in tonight to talk about the basic plan we have, that all the residents get by default, is required to have a renewable energy component in it. So currently it's at 16%. As of next year, it will be 18% renewable energy. And what the state wants is by 2030 for that number to be 35% renewable energy. Now there's 2 other options that people can opt into, but by default, the standard option is the base rate, which includes a 16% renewable energy requirement. Is that correct, Stan? Kathy?
Yeah.
And so what are the other options then? What is the higher percentage?
So, do
Go ahead, Kathy.
you want me to jump in?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
please.
So first, let me just say it's very nice to meet you all virtually. And you guys are doing a great job. I'm just listening in on some of the stuff. You got your hands full, and it's good to see. So thank you for that. The aggregation, I think these guys are doing a really good job. First of all, I think the people who put this together know their business very well. So that's a comfort. But what they came up with was essentially a default contract price at 0.10385. That's in dollars per kWh. So if you were to go to your electric bill and find the cost of electricity separated out from the local distribution costs, you would see that number in there. That's the number that we go out to buy for aggregations. And we can talk more about that if you want, but that there, I just want to make sure you understand how you would go about finding the number. And then there are 2 other optional programs that your constituents can choose to opt into. One of them would add, so just a quick little background on the renewable components for Massachusetts. Massachusetts has been, I think, the #1 in energy efficiency in the country for many years. We're very active and very pro renewable energy and energy efficiency and energy conservation here. So it's a requirement for any contract, or including the utilities, to include a minimum amount of renewable energy in their mix. And so that's where that 16% number came from. And I'm sure they started somewhere around 10 and then each year added a little into it, that kind of thing. So that's why we have that. But there are also 2 optional products that your constituents can choose. And the second one would be a contract that would give them a 50% additional renewable energy to the existing 16%. And they would pay 0.12159 for that. And then there's another option where the customer can choose 100% renewable energy, and they would pay 0.13934 for that option. So as you can imagine, it's totally optional for your constituents to choose one of those 2 options, and they would be paying quite a bit more than what they would probably pay with the utility for at least part of the time. So they would have to know and agree to do that going into it. The default price, being the basic price that includes the 16% renewable, frequently is below what they would pay to the utility if they stuck to the utility. So, and I think the reason Good Energy really structured it this way is because these aggregations work really well. It's a huge benefit to the constituents of Dartmouth to have this. I live in Easton. We do not have this. They're going to be hearing from me about that. Because it allows the members of your community to take advantage of a lower price for energy. And it's a contract that's been fully vetted by the town of Dartmouth, which is a big deal because the town has the resources and the ability to throw their weight behind having a good lawyer look at this information and make sure that it's all, on the up and up. And so it's a great contract. I think it's a great program. And I think that when you go out and offer this, the folks that live in Dartmouth, and they have the opportunity to participate and enjoy a price that's below what they would pay to the utility, I think that's great. So the way these projects work is they are typically an opt-out program. So all of your community members participate unless they specifically opt out of the program. And I think the folks that kind of put this together felt that as long as the pricing that they were putting in front of you was for the most part under what the constituents would pay to the utility, an opt-out probably isn't a bad deal. But if you're going to put a number in front of them that would be more than what the utility would charge, even though it was more renewable, having an opt-out clause might be a little cumbersome for some people, feeling, they don't want to have to pay more money for electricity, even though there's more renewable, unless they agree to do so in advance. So that's why I think they structured it the way they did. And so it's a good program. I think the basic price is very attractive. We have some great things going on right now in the energy business to make the securing supply numbers very attractive for both natural gas and electricity, because we have very low energy prices right now in the US and especially in New England. So it's kind of a good time to lock in those longer contract numbers. There's good attractive rates out there. We had 3 very reputable suppliers that participated in the bid, and it went very well. So that's what I can tell you in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
So would the company that won the award, Are they a new company, or is it the same company we've used?
So, interesting, the company that won the award is Constellation New Energy. They've been around for a long, long time. They have very deep pockets, so they're not going to go anywhere. They also happen to be the supplier for the Mass Municipal Association for their electric contract for municipalities in Massachusetts. So I know they wanted this very badly, and they really sharpened their pencil to get it. The company that has the contract right now lost by, I don't know, well, thousandths of a point or something like that. It was very, very close. So it's good. Competition is good, right?
Constellation is a very, very, very good company, and they
Yeah.
have been around for an awful long time. Always profitable.
Yeah, and it's good to have a good reputable supplier there.
Yeah.
It's comforting.
That's great.
And I can just add, so
Mr. Tattelbaum.
since 2016, this program has saved the residents and businesses in Dartmouth $3.6 million. So it's been very
Mr. Tattelbaum.
The base rate is the same, it's 16% for the life of this contract. Is that what I heard you say?
The 16% of the energy that is being procured is coming from renewable sources for the life of this contract.
What was it on the previous contract?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. Sean, do you happen to know?
It goes up. So it's 16 now. In 2021, it goes to 18. And
Going
by
back, Sean. What
No,
was
he
the
wants to go the other way.
previous contract?
I'd have to look that. I don't have that handy.
But, I mean, was it
I
fairly,
think Kathy was right when she said it earlier. It probably started around 10% and it's worked its way up through the contract up to 16.
Yeah, it might have been around 12 or 14, but I can find that out for you if you like.
okay. So it is an improvement even over that contract.
Oh, yeah. It's
Okay.
going to continue to go up because our goal, like Sean said, is in 2030, I think the state wants us to be at 35% renewable. And of course, we all want to see the offshore wind business take off. We want to see that business become successful here in New England. We want to see new jobs created because of it and hire less expensive renewable energy available from it. So that's all what we're hoping to see.
Being a green
Dave,
Some of us
community.
want to see off-wind, but not everybody.
David.
Being a green community, how do we compare to other green communities in terms of any idea of how our aggregate is and compared to others? Are we more aggressive than a non-green community, et cetera?
So this aggregation, every community who participates gets the same price.
Right.
So, and it's kind of interesting. They all have to agree. So you have to put 25 people on the phone and they all have to agree to both the terms and conditions and they all have to agree with the ultimate number. Otherwise we don't sign a contract. So that was really cool. I mean, there was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of participation, great questions. Not everybody who is representing their town in the aggregation discussions are experts in energy. So some of their questions were really good, like really, makes you think, right? So I thought that went very, very well.
Do you know what percentage of the communities are green communities, a ballpark?
I don't. I think that actually 2 or 3 of them just got their designations this year. I think Attleboro just got their designation this year. I think Acushnet just got their designation. There might be some of them that aren't even green communities yet. And then there are some that have been around for a while.
Could you get that figure for us?
I can find out, sure.
At present, yeah.
Great. Anyone else?
My last question is if I want to opt in as a resident to to option 2 or 3, what's the procedure for that?
So there's going to be communication that we're going to be preparing to send out to all of the community residents.
Right.
And I don't know that Good has that completely finalized yet because this contract will take place in 2021.
Yep. Okay.
So you don't want to give this stuff out too early because then it becomes, well, I'll worry about it later.
Right.
And then, so I'm going to think a little bit about that. And I'm also going to make sure that Cynthia has asked me to do something for DCTV on aggregation, and I'm happy to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a slide deck together and make sure that we remind people that they have this choice and reiterate to them once that process is affirmed and what the documentation looks like.
Right.
I'll reaffirm that as well.
That was my point, because I think that this being our second contract, there's going to be more and more interest, and I think that the more we can educate people when the choices come and how to make it would be a great thing.
Yeah, and the other thing is there are still suppliers out there running around trying to target residential customers and get them into contracts that are not vetted by the town and may not be, you know, and please feel free to funnel those up to me. If you hear of this, somebody comes to you, complains, send them my way through Sean, and I will be happy to talk to people and get to the bottom of
We know they're out there too.
Yes, they are. Oh,
And,
yes, they are.
But
Yeah.
we've been sort of lucky, I think. I think those type of criminal activities usually go to cities and towns that are not part of these aggregations.
Yeah.
So,
New Bedford has had their share
Yeah.
of people that have been targeted. And so if you hear anything, please feel free to filter it up to Sean, and I'll be happy to make sure we do whatever it is that's necessary to protect our constituents.
and to the residents, they need to be careful.
Yeah, sure.
That if it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Right, and
So-
I'll make sure I have copies of the communication that is valid from Good Energy. So
Yeah.
when I do this DCTV piece, I'll have it available. We'll put it up there. Maybe we'll make it available at the town hall somewhere so that people could come and go and look at a sample. So that if they're getting something from a supplier, they should have it, be able to compare it to what we have and say, if this isn't the same thing, it's not the same deal. You know, I want to make sure and make it as simple as possible because we don't have to overcomplicate this, you know?
Mr. Grayson,
I assume we have to approve this?
Yes, you have to vote to approve the electric contract that's in the packet.
Okay, I'll make that a motion.
Second.
we have a one person to accept the contract and a second to sign the contract, the energy aggregation contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? We have ourselves a contract.
Right?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you,
Thank
Kathleen,
you very much, guys. It was
Yep.
great
Thank you.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Same here.
All right. Annual town meeting warrant article review. That time again. Mr. McGinnis.
Okay, so we've been working on the warrant. Greg has done a great job drafting up these draft warrants, going over the numbers. We've been working with the finance committee. There's a special town meeting warrant with 2 articles in it, and there's the full regular town meeting warrant that's got 22 articles. Do you want to go through it? From the start?
I think we should
All right. So
do the spring first, right?
do the special.
The special, yep.
Yeah, so the first article is the Community Preservation Committee, FY20 Historic Preservation Reserve. This is housekeeping. It's $5,000 into the Historic Preservation Reserve. Do that every year. The second item is the transfer from waterways to the general fund. This is the Dias Landing Grant that the FinCom would pay for from the reserve fund, and then at town meeting, it would be transferred back from the retained earnings of waterways.
Do you need to put, do we need to have the recommendations of the committee? Of the board?
If you want, you can, I have it on the agenda for next week for you to vote, but it's up to you. So I just didn't, I wanted to leave this open in case you had some questions or needed more information.
All right,
Yeah,
question?
let's just do it next week and, like we normally do.
A quick question. Are we going to have the benefit of the finance committee results next week when we vote?
Yes, right, Greg?
Yeah,
They're gonna
the-
vote
Yeah,
this week.
yes, they're meeting both Wednesday and Thursday, so yes, they should be done.
And I talked to
So,
Terry
If
this
we
morning.
can get
also.
those, if we can get those, is it possible to get it before our meeting, the review? Their vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've already taken quite a number of votes, so, yes.
Do we, and last question is, I would request that anyone else support to have the chair or a couple of members from the finance on board with the meeting next week?
That's a great request because it's already scheduled.
Yeah,
It is scheduled, right?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, it was
Well, I
always,
thought it was scheduled for this week, but we, also, so they're going to be, it is going to be a joint meeting.
Yes. So we had pushed the calendar that we had in place. Things got pushed back a week because of
Okay.
this COVID. So
So it'll be official joint meeting
yes.
next week? Okay. Thank you.
And I
you
believe
get all the answers you need, Dave.
That's it.
And I'll double check, but I believe we have the school committee as well.
Yes.
Yes. So there'll be 3 boards meeting.
I got to get a bigger computer screen.
A good preparation for town meeting in case we have to.
Jumbotron.
Yeah.
So the annual town meeting warrant, it's got 22 articles. First is, the first few are the Community Preservation Committee. One is their administrative budget, $35,000 for expenses. It's the annual. The second is Community Preservation at Pontiac Playground renovations. This is appropriating $200,000 for a new playground at Pontiac Landing. This is half of the cost of the playground. There's another $200,000 that's in the CIP plan as well that was voted. The third article is Community Housing and Historic Preservation Reserve, $90,000.
Each.
180,000 total, 90,000 for Community Housing Reserve and 90,000 for Historic Preservation Reserve. The fourth article is appropriation from the cemetery sale of lot fund. That's $2,000. They've had some increased expenses due to the time limitations of COVID and getting burials done. Article 5 is the maximum spending limits for revolving funds. The only change here is the Recreation and Park revolving fund was increased to $185,000. Originally, they were anticipating the bucket doing more business, and I think they just wanted to make sure that they were able to cover their expenses. As you know, with these revolving funds, this is just a not to exceed spending limit. They don't spend any funds that they don't have or they don't make through the funds. And Greg, I'll let you do the capital planning and the schedule it, Article 6.
Okay. Just one second here. You mind if I throw it on the screen? Make it.
Oh, we all have it.
I just didn't know if the public or.
Oh, all right.
Yep, so this is the capital article. We are recommending to go forward on the capital article. Keep in mind, the monies to pay for this are a combination of enterprise monies and some free cash that was left over from this year. We will have certified free cash as new certified free cash for July, certified as of July 1, 2020, and we are expecting that to be a very good number in spite of the crisis. While we have seen some revenue drops, we've also seen some major expenditure drops in this year's budget as well. So I'm not expecting a bad free cash number for this upcoming year. At that time in the fall, we can make an assessment as to whether to pull back, depending on how the overall budget is going. My assessment is it's really fiscal year 22 that we're going to have to particularly worry about if the economy has a prolonged down period. So in the capital, you have a number of items, perhaps the most debatable one will be the demolition of the old police station. We do not believe, I'm speaking for the capital committee, we don't believe it's in the town interest to keep the building up and allow what happened with Gidley School, where you had basically after 10 years, you had a derelict building. The idea would be if you took it down, you'd still use the site for radio towers. Police cruisers, we fund this every year. We decided to fund the full amount in the spring as opposed to wait till the fall. All the school items are items that they wish to do over the summer.
Greg, what is the total cost to demolish the old police station?
480,000.
Yes.
That's all?
Well, we got estimates for the disposal, the removal of the buildings. That was 313,000. Removal of the 5,000 gallon underground storage tank was about 29,000. And then it does have asbestos in there. We had an asbestos survey done. They came back and estimated the cost to remove the hazardous materials would be about 138,000. That adds up to the 480.
Just remember, it cost us well over $1 million to take that school down.
That's why I'm questioning it, yes.
Right.
Question?
Follow building.
Did you say the radio tower stays? Is that what I heard you say, Greg?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's being used at this point, correct?
It is very much so being used, and I'm sure Brian and other public safety employees would tell you how important it is to the town.
Doesn't that limit the flexibility on the eventual use of that land because the tower's there?
But there's a feasibility study being done right now, but in the short term, it's a very strategic point. It allows us we're actually in the process of trying to make some connections over to the bucket to get to the water department, and that has direct line of sight to the bucket. So it does have some value to the town right now. And again, I don't know the long term, but in the short term, we definitely want to keep it.
But it's not attached, excuse me, it's not attached to the building. It's separate to the building. So
Yeah.
it's all fenced in. I don't know the size of it, the chief could tell us, but it's not a very large portion of land.
No,
and it's to the east side of the building.
Yeah,
Right.
I just wanted to reinforce that we weren't going to take it down.
Right.
The
No
plan
reason
is just to remove the building, currently the tank, and DCTV building is staying in the tower.
Right.
And, there's still the police reuse committee is still working on options, but one option, nobody was in favor of trying to do anything with the existing building, so we wanted to budget for that.
Okay.
So the schools, again, these are all a variety of projects, again, stressing that the reason these were targeted was to allow them to occur over the summer. I think they speak for themselves, but the steam converter and boiler retrofit, that's a major project. There's actually 2 phases. We're hoping to get some grant money, which will allow us to carry over some of this money to phase 2. And the savings here could be significant. We're expecting to get Eversource energy rebate credits as part of this project. So highway, that's just a small thing for snow and ice. Yes, it does snow. I know the last 2 years we believe such. Sewer, this is a quite significant project. It's necessary to make sure we comply with our permits. As Dave Hickox has mentioned, we have as you can see below, we have an I&I program. That's where we try to prevent water from leaching into the sewer, groundwater from leaching into the system. it's been so successful, it's changed the constituency of what's going into the sewer plant. And it's much more solid versus liquid. And we need to make these changes in order to continue to run the system effectively. Water, again, a number of upgrade items. All of these, I should mention, are being funded by the enterprise themselves. Solid waste, and then Park has a few projects there. The $200,000 for the Apponeganset is actually part of the $400,000 project you just, Sean had mentioned the other two in an article coming from CPC.
Oh, go ahead, Greg. You can go.
Oh, okay. So the next one is the famous setting of the salaries for elected officials. This will give the town clerk a 2% raise. Article 8, the FinCom did vote to endorse a budget. I have it. I don't, it's probably too much detail for tonight, but basically the summary of the budget was no new positions were recommended in the general fund. There was one position, a sewer treatment operator type position that was recommended in the sewer enterprise fund. We consider that to be an essential employee, all the more important if we ever had staff get sick, there'd be no one to run the sewer treatment facility. And if you ever wanted complaints, that one would probably top them all off. The Article 8, they voted a budget that has no increases in staffing. There were a number of departments that did ask for additional staffing this year. There also, wherever it was determined there was discretionary funding, they level funded those amounts. They did make one change from the budget that was put forth to them, which is they voted to eliminate the funding for the youth advocate. That was in the budget from the year before. Again, the spending freeze memo states not to add any new positions. That wasn't a new position, so it was in there. So they voted the budget as recommended, other than the youth advocate, where they voted 9-0 to eliminate the funding for that position. There were, in terms of increases, there were what you expect. Pension went way up this year. Healthcare, we were able to moderate some of the increases, although the budget is built on 54% contribution to town employees, at least active employees. And it's also, there's enough provided in there for 500 contribution to HSA for individuals and 1,000 contribution for family. That's all subject to negotiations with unions. So that's not all in stone, although there have been some unions who have signed off on that. Any questions on that?
I have one comment.
Yep.
I did have a conversation a few minutes back with the chair of the Youth Commission, and I think that the tea leaves are saying the tea leaves are pretty clear, not only because of the issue of the virus and budgeting and freezing, that he is certainly understanding and think that at the minimum, consideration of that position should be postponed at least until the next fiscal year. I think you'll get that support from the commission.
All right, the next one's really very much of a housekeeping article. It just gives us the money to pay for the debt service on the betterments. Whenever we put in a sewer system in the past, it often was associated with a betterment. People can pay that amount outright, or they can spread it out over typically a 20-year period. And this just allows us to appropriate the monies being collected and fund the debt service. And similarly, we have a septic system betterment program. Not too many people take advantage of it, or at least recently, but we have to fund the debt service on that. The next several articles are enterprise articles. Again, these are self-supporting funds. The cost increases were not too bad this year. In some cases, you saw some significant decreases in certain fundings. But perhaps I'll go through quickly out of sewer, water. I'm sorry, I wasn't reading right. Solid waste, water, sewer, and in all cases, we believe the funding, the revenues are more than sufficient to fund the expenses. DCTV, again, in spite of all the changes with cable, so far the revenues are sufficient to fund the expenses. You start to get more tight with waterways. There's they do have some retained earnings or undesignated fund balance, as we like to call, but it's a tight budget, so they have to be judicious with their monies. The one that we're most concerned about is Social Day. Right now, they're not taking in any revenues. And even before this crisis, they lost a grant. Now, Social Day did make a request, and I shouldn't say Social Day, the COA made a request to have the town absorb the cost of the indirect expenses. That's not ultimately what was recommended by the Finance Committee, but they did make that request. Obviously, if it were to come from the town, we'd have to find the money. I think it presents two problems. First of all, you're setting a precedent. We would be waterways and even the DPW would certainly be taking notice. The other issue is about 80 to 90% of the Social Day clientele are from out of town, mainly New Bedford. So in effect, if we were to pay for the indirects, we'd be subsidizing out-of-town residents. And
We'll charge the city of New Bedford.
It's individual decisions made by individuals in New Bedford. So New Bedford itself.
I'm kidding now.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is this a critical enough issue that we should have the Social Day program people come before us and to try to talk this thing through? Or is it not that important?
Well, I can add, Greg and I have been talking about this since last year. They've kind of been on a little bit of a downward cycle expense-wise. So we've been looking at it, and we're continuing to look at ways either to, streamline things or improve or increase the fees that are being charged. It gets a little complicated because Coastline is involved, but, we're still looking at a number of options. And I think once we have that, we can come back to the board and present those options.
Take care of those seniors.
Yeah, any idea, any estimates, do you think, as far as loss of revenue?
Well, right now it's complete. They're not running the program,
You know,
so.
I'm talking, well, it could be a whole year.
Amy would be better than myself in terms of determining how long they could be out, but yeah, it could be a long time. Their clientele tends to be the most vulnerable of the populations out there with coronavirus, and
Exactly.
as we know, it's quite possible we're going to have waves of this. It won't be just, we wake up and it's all gone. It will taper back a little, only to come rushing back during the fall.
Yeah. In the meantime.
So yeah, there are a lot of questions here. Obviously we want to make sure it's the revenues meet the expenditures. They do have some retained earnings. One question that's been discussed is right now their workers are doing work for the town. One could make an argument to the degree they're doing work for the town that the town could potentially compensate them for the time they're working for the town, not for Social Day. So that's one thing to.
To Greg's point there, we anticipate FEMA funds for their work that they're doing to get reimbursed. So hopefully, we'll be
For the work,
years, but
the staff, for the work the staff is doing?
So they're not currently laid off. They're not on furlough. They're currently being paid, and they're not, because Social Day in itself is not running. They've been reallocated toward duties at COA that aren't directly related to Social Day. So to the degree that they're performing duties not directly related to Social Day, there could be an argument there about helping to fund the proportion of their work that's not Social Day related, particularly if we're going to get grants. Okay. So the next one, this is, the town is actually, I learned this only, I didn't realize this a few years ago, but the town is exempt from the minimum wage. However, we do try to stay with the minimum wage because we're in a competitive situation. And as you may know, the state is gradually bringing the minimum wage up to $15. So what this does is it brings employees up to the $13.50 represents what the minimum wage will be as of January 1, 2020. This is in Massachusetts. The other raises above that, it's to keep the range so that you don't have a lower level seasonal or temporary employee making more than someone of a higher range. And again, this is just seasonal and temporary employees. Some of these changes take effect July 1. That's because the impacts were from last year when they raised the rate to $2.75 last year. And then the others parts are this year when, again, they're going to $13.50 as of January 1. The next one, and this I need to add in the laborers here, but these numbers here, Article 17 collective bargaining, these are the numbers that we came up with. To start off, the management union, the cost, and this is for fiscal year 20 and 21, the cost in 20 is $69,071, cost in 21, $124,554. Keep in mind, it's always cumulative. So if you have a 2% in 1 year, and the next year you have 2%, you're paying 4% in that second year off the original base. In terms of the police union, First year, and again, this is 20 and we're almost done with 20, so this would be a retro payment. It's 312,000, and next year, or it's 442,000. So again, I have to put in the laborers amounts. Those are in the hundreds of thousands as well. And it should be stated, this needs to be approved in order for the contracts to be officially ratified. You need to have the first year of the contract signed off, approved at town meeting. This is on the town side of government, by the way. The schools have a completely different legal situation. But the first year of the contract has to be approved by town meeting for the contracts to go into effect. And then beyond that, I think all of this is zoning stuff. I don't know if Sean wants to go through this, or you want me to continue, Sean? Or
I mean, I can go through it. The board, you saw at the joint meeting with the planning board, the planning director, Christine O'Grady, reviewed these articles as the aquifer protection map update, the FEMA maps. We're still having just a little update on the FEMA map adoption. FEMA had sent us a letter saying, we understand there's a COVID situation. We basically, that's not good enough. You need to get these maps adopted by July 8th, or you won't be in the program. So SERP
And we haven't got anywhere with them at all?
no,
since
SERP
that time?
is working with them at a state level. Chris Markey's aware of it. So we're anticipating that they'll soften a little bit. I don't think they anticipated this pandemic to be going on as long as it has, but they did just send the letter out a couple of weeks ago. So, so that's where that's at. I'll keep you posted, but for now it's on, and hopefully we have the town meeting before July 8th. So that would be ideal. And then they had amendments to their sign provision, which was a housekeeping. Article 21 is the select board's article about allowing manufacturing and cultivation of marijuana in the general business district. And then the final Article 22 is a resident petition article looking to rezone a single residence parcel to general business district. They wanted to do a solar installation on that property. The planning board did not recommend it.
One thing I should stress, as you know, this is an extraordinary time. It's very difficult for us to estimate where we are financially. A lot of the data that we use, we don't get until a later period of time. So for example, motel, hotel, and meals taxes, we just got revenue covering up through February. So it's given to us month quarterly payments. So it's going to be, I'm going to try calling the state and asking them, please, can you give us some indication of where things are? But it could be 3-4 months before we know where that we stand on that. Motor vehicle excise, which could be dramatically impacted. That's half our local receipt revenue. Our major commitment is in January, February. So we're not going to know that for a year. The big question for us and virtually all towns is, what's the state going to do? That's a big question mark. Often when you have a financial crisis like this, other than the length of time and the depth of the crisis, the government often, and I'm speaking for states, federal, and local, there tends to be a lag of a year and a half before the full effects are felt. So once again, there's a lot of uncertainty, but what we have put into the spending freeze memo and what the board has supported is the idea that, while we always look at the budget closely, this year we'll be looking at it more than closely, with the idea that in the fall, we may have to make adjustments. And that could go either way, by the way. If we have a V recession, which is increasingly looking less likely, then potentially a lot of the worst case won't come to be. But if we have what's called an L recession, which is basically the equivalent of the Great Recession, as opposed to the Great Depression, we could have a long period. And again, we have to be very, very attentive to that. We are fortunate that our finances are quite strong. We built in a lot of what I like to call fiscal flexibility into the budget, but even with that, we have to be extremely diligent because major revenue streams are without a doubt going to be impacted by this. So that's my little piece there.
Good job. Thank you, Craig.
No problem.
All right, so that's the warrants.
Can we get that off the screen?
Yeah, Greg, you want to stop sharing your screen?
Certainly, and let me,
Thank you.
hopefully second here. Stop. There you go.
All right. Any questions on the warrants? You want to? Okay. The next item's a
DOR, deficit spending request letter.
right part of the COVID. So obviously there was no appropriation made in the budget for items related to COVID-19. The state will allow us to deficit spend. Greg and Donna Fernandez, the town accountant, drafted this letter to DOR requesting the town have the ability to deficit spend. They estimated roughly $100,000. We don't really know what that cost is going to be, but we need to send this in, so the board would need to vote to approve for me to sign the letter and send it to DOR.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, send the letter. Oh, we have to vote, right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Please, Sean, send the letter.
Okay, I will.
MOU, Dartmouth Police Brotherhood.
All right. This, as you know, we have an MOU with the Dartmouth Brotherhood on the contract for 3 years. Because we are almost at the end of the first year, they're just requesting an MOU for them to implement the new detail rate, which mostly applies to third-party details. And I'll let the chief kind of explain more, but they're hoping to get this MOU just for the remainder of this year.
Well, thanks, Sean.
Chief, it's all yours.
So I was approached.
It's all yours.
Thank you. I was approached by the Brotherhood regarding the issue of the detail rate. As you know, the contract has a formula built into it that calculates a detail rate based on the officer's pay. That's not a retro issue. It goes into effect when the contract goes into effect, or an MOU in this case. What they're looking to do is to implement this a little ahead of time, especially with the uncertainty of town meeting. And there are some definite benefits to the town as they collect an administrative fee, which would obviously go up as their detail rate goes up. In addition to that, there's some other language that's included in the contract. They're looking to implement all of that language in the new MOU, which is Article 6, Section 5, which also requires that their time slips are submitted timely, which Greg can talk about further if you need to, but that certainly helps with the town payroll, getting that done on time. And it removes some of the complexity that was built into the old language which simplifies billing and also makes it easier to understand for any contractors that are working for the town. So based on the benefits for the town and the Brotherhood, I supported this request by the Brotherhood and have brought this forward to Sean for your approval.
So the dollar's off the extra pay now also, right? Chief? That
Yeah, there was
extra
the dollar for senior man, and there was $1 for, yes, and overnight as well. So it just simplifies the whole billing process.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? It's approved. The FY20 pay rate of pay, overtime rate of $47.56, detail rate of pay $48. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, so MOU, Laborers Union.
Yes, this is the MOU for the laborers contract for FY 20 through 22. It's in the packet. They've ratified it and signed off on it, and it's here for the board to vote and sign off on if approved.
Motion to approve.
I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to quote Greg Barnes. And the reason why I'm voting against this is because major revenue streams are going to be impacted in the future, to quote Greg, and I can see that coming in 1 to 2 years. So I just unfortunately have to vote against this.
Well, we still need a second.
A second.
Thank you.
Mr. Tattlebaum, second. Motion to approve was Mr. McDonald. All those in favor of the MOU with the Laborers Union? Mr. McDonald, was it you? Yes.
Raise my hand, yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Mr. Yeah. Go right ahead, Mr. McDonald.
No.
Voting.
Voting.
Oh, no, I thought you wanted it. You wanted to
No,
say something.
voting.
Okay,
Yes.
so all those in favor of the MOU for the Laborers Union, vote yes. Hands
Yes.
up. Any
Yes.
opposed? None. Motion. The memorandum is voted favorably.
For the record, there's two.
Yeah, 3, 4, and 2 against.
3, 4, and 2.
3,
3, 4, 2 against.
Two again, thank you.
Yeah. Right.
342 is 9 people.
Hike.
3, 4, 3, 4, and 2 against. Isn't that what I said?
3 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative.
I have a,
Enough
for
already.
what it's worth, I have a typo.
For what?
Number 4, Article 18,
Uh-huh.
first line, for employees, a health savings account, HAS, should not be HSA.
Yes. So that's on the steel workers. That's the next one, but yes. I will.
Okay, good.
Okay, so next up, MOU for Steelworkers Union.
Yes, so this is similar to laborers. This is the MOU for the contract years FY 20 through 22. It's been reviewed and ratified by the steelworkers, signed, and it's here before the board.
once again, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to vote in the negative and for the same reason I quoted as the last article.
Well taken, Mr. Herron.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second for the MOU for the steelworkers. All those in favor?
Aye.
2,
Aye.
3. All those against?
Aye.
And 2 against. 3, 4, and 2 against. Is that good enough? All right. So I like 3, 4, 2. So anyway, park memo on maintenance.
Yes, there's a memorandum in the packet from the superintendent of parks, Tim Lancaster, just stating that he's had some staffing issues, and with the COVID issue, he doesn't have the support of the sheriff's office. prisoners as much as he can. He's basically stating that, you know, he's going to maintain the properties. They will probably not be maintained to the level they have in the past because of these issues, but they are going to be maintained. So you just want to draft a memo to that effect so that the board is aware.
Okay.
Or anything.
Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I just wondered if the language of his employees would restrict any type of extra work they could do or different style of work they could do in the maintenance field going forward.
No, not necessarily. He's had some issue. He has a truck driver position that's more of a supervisor of the staff in the summer, and he's had some turnover with those truck drivers. He's had a lot of success with the employees, but lately they've had some health issues and some turnover, so he's been having a hard time replacing the positions and dealing with some of the health issues. So, and like I said, but no, he does have a lot of overlap, and we do use, that's a lot that brings up the facilities plan that we've implemented over the last year and a half, trying to get the facilities staff to work centrally with Tim to provide better support to all the town buildings. We've been able to do that, particularly with the new police station, the new library. So that's worked out fairly well. So yes, we do look to combine efforts when we can.
So while we're on this maintenance issue, all right, Mr. Tattlebaum, go ahead.
I would assume that he's chosen these facilities to have less care because they can take it versus others that require more intense care.
I would assume that's true, yeah.
Yes.
So can we have a little discussion on the Maritime Center now as far as maintenance of that building? What are we going to do here? Are we going to, have we decided to have a discussion? I think we need to meet with the shop owners for sure. We need to meet with the harbor master. It could be a challenge to keep that building, considering there are a lot of people that are coming off boats using it. It could be very, very difficult to maintain.
I think I agree. I think it'll be interesting to see what the governor's order is. I mean, this is essentially a public facility, a restroom facility and shower, and there are many of those in the state. So we can see if he provides any guidance on that coming into the summer season when they're used more frequently. We'll watch that. It's not slated to open until Memorial Day as it is, as was agreed. So we have the rest of this month to kind of fill that out, but we can certainly start the process of talking with the shop owners, the harbor master, and others in that area to see what their thoughts are.
Well, at least one of them will,
last year when it was open, so we got a lot of.
At least one of them should be open for the bridge tenders, and they're going to have a key, and their responsibility of keeping that door locked when they leave is important. And maybe one bathroom might be the issue. It might just work out fine. I don't know that, but we'll have to see what kind of. We don't know what the boating people are going to look like. The amounts of boats that'll come in. We don't know that either.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have the input from the business association. Maybe they'd like to have it open only like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday or something.
Well, that's what I said, Mr. Herron. We'll get it. There's no question we're not going to get them involved. I mean, that's part of their business down there.
Could we
There's
also
no question.
do
Mr. Gracie.
Yeah, I just want to throw my 2 cents in. I pointed this out last time. We used to have a porta-john down there for those wandering around the village. That's gone now, so the only bathroom facilities are in the Maritime Center. I think it would be unwise to not plan to have at least a bathroom facility available for the general public if you expect people to go.
Yeah, I'm not saying shut the whole thing down, but it needs to be controlled, and also it needs to be controlled in a sanitary way. All right. Memorial Day Parade, Select Board recommendation canceling. We're not, but I think, Sean, you got a letter from, did we get a letter from
Yeah, so
Matthew, yep.
The Veteran Services Officer, they're still moving ahead with the ceremonies that they usually do. But in light of the pandemic that's going on, and I checked with the school superintendent regarding the bands, and she said they would not be available. So they were talking. They would like the select board's support on canceling the Memorial Day parade, and they want to look at perhaps having something in November around Veterans Day to celebrate instead.
Yeah, that'd be great. We have to vote on that? Yes, no? Mr. Gracie.
I have a question. This letter says that we support going forward with the parade. That doesn't sound like we want what we want.
Right. I saw that also.
Oh, I missed that.
Right.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
So to add to this, and I think I spoke about it last meeting, the ceremony will go on, rain or shine, doesn't matter. I remember a few years ago when we had to cancel because of weather, but they will do the ceremony, stop at the bridge and throw a wreath at the cemetery and place a wreath, and at the old police station place a wreath. And I plan on going no matter what,
Mr.
rain or
Chairman?
shine, and everybody, all the select board.
Isn't there a
members will be
chance?
invited.
Isn't there a chance that 300 or 400 people could show up just for that alone? What do we do about that?
I don't know.
Well-
Don't know that.
Well, it could be.
Generally, those are outside. We can request that they practice social distancing.
Yeah, I
I think we ought to talk to the police department about maybe being prepared to regulate that, because you could easily set a lot of people could show up.
well, that would be nice. We don't know that, so I think we'll have to, let's talk to the chief and make him aware that Memorial Day, we will be out there, doing what we do every year. And, we can't keep people off the street,
No,
but they have to wear
have
masks.
to have some direction.
Mr. Grayson.
I think it's appropriate that we, as we discussed at that joint meeting, that we move forward with the ceremonies part, keeping in mind that we have to watch, somebody has to watch the crowd. I think David's point is a good one. I also want to remind folks, so that we also asked them if we're going to move the parade to a different point, we needed a drop dead date of when we would have to make a decision on that. I'm not saying we need that now, but we still are going to need that as we start to discuss this for a possible future parade,
Maybe Labor Day.
whatever. But yeah,
know?
we basically needed it to be on their shoulders to tell us what they need for a response time.
Yeah. Anything else? So we have to vote on canceling the parade?
I mean, I think I would just take a vote. It's really not a formal, so.
Okay.
we could-
All those, all right, we need
I make a motion to approve that we agree to cancel the parade.
I'll second
we have a motion to cancel and a second to cancel the Memorial Day parade. All those in favor?
that. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Officially, the Memorial Day parade is canceled.
Possibly postponed, but at least this one's
Yeah,
canceled.
yeah. Hopefully we can pull it off. We'd love to. I think if things calm down, boy, I think the residents would love to celebrate.
Sure.
Old business, Bliss Corner update.
No, none of the items under old business I have an update for. I do have a question though, with the Zoom meetings that we've been doing. So generally you sign the warrants.
Yes.
So I was going to ask if I recommend if we scan them and email them to you to review, and then you could just email back that you approve the warrant, and we'll I talked with counsel. He thinks that is acceptable.
And you stamp them, correct?
Correct.
Right. Mr. Grayson.
Why can't we do what we did last time, which is that we just vote to approve it and you stamp it for us?
Right. Yes. That's what I'm saying. But
That
you
didn't
want-
involve any emailing.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
It's not like there was an extra step this time where you're suggesting emailing it to us for approval, where we could just approve it right here and now, and then you could decide it for us.
Okay.
That simplifies it.
We could do that. There's 3 The warrant for April 24th and 27th. The warrant for April 4th, 10th, and 13th. And the warrant for April 11th, 11, 17, and 21.
Yeah, just to make it easier, I would make a motion that we approve all those warrants and let Mr. McGinnis sign those for us with the stamp.
So we have a motion to accept, and a second to
Wait.
have the
I got
town
a comment? Comment?
Yes, Dave. Yeah,
There's millions of dollars involved here, and we're signing something blind. As opposed to getting a look at the cover sheet only?
Well, in honesty, it's not like we sit there and read through every line. When we
Yeah,
get the-
that's good.
I was going to say the same thing, David.
Okay.
We do this at regular meetings. I don't see anybody reading 65 lines.
Yeah,
Mr.
Kelly was.
Mr. McDonald. Mr.
Kelly was the
McDonald.
last one who actually read those.
If you want a copy of the warrant, just email Mr. McGinnis or Mr. Barnes, and they will forward you a copy.
Mr. Gracie.
No, I just wanted to point out that Kelly was the last person that ever read through those.
That's correct. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? You have our permission to stamp the warrants.
Okay.
Thank you. We have minutes, April 13th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor of accepting April 13th, 2020 minutes? Raise your
Aye.
hand, say yes. Any opposed? None? Minutes are approved for April 13th, 2020. Any other information?
There's some information in the packet.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Construction notification.
City construction notification?
Yes, this is from the Mass DOT. They'll be doing
Yep.
some pavement and crack sealing repairs at various locations on Route 6 and State Road. They're starting in spring, summer of 2020.
And what else? May 4th information.
This is, I just included this. I mean, Selectman Gracie brought this up. This is a request from a resident asking about people wearing masks in restaurants and in public. That's been implemented by the governor on Friday, but also asked me tonight to follow up with a request or an order for all workers and businesses, particularly food service, to wear masks, but all businesses. So
At all times while they're at work.
correct.
Okay, we've got Department of Agriculture Resources.
Mhm.
Notice.
This is their yearly operational plan for the Massachusetts Coastal Railroad. They need to submit this. That includes all the towns. It's really pest management and vegetation management for all their towns, because it's from, it looks like there's about 20 different towns here. So, but they put this out annually.
Mm-hmm. And they file for, let me see, for determination. So let me see what else here. Yearly operation, Coastal Railroad. So they're just spraying basically and cleaning up shrubs that are in the way of the railroad.
Correct. And then the filing was that was attached to this was the filing. The company that will be doing that work filed with the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, TEC Associates, I guess.
Correct.
Wow, Portland, Maine. Couldn't get anybody local? There's quite a few cities and towns, by the way.
Comment, please.
Yes, Mr. Grayson.
I just want to point out that the one with the herbicide treatment, that one of the herbicides they're using is glyphosate, which is Roundup. That's what all the lawsuits are all about. I'm not sure that we should just carte blanche, let that go.
That's actually, Roundup is It's further name. It's not quite that name, but it's also there's some other names with it. But it's close to it. Yes.
Yeah, this is the one that's on all the lawsuits on TV with all the ambulance chases.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see it in every single, all the big box stores by the pallet full.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's safe to use.
Mr. Gracie, I didn't mean that. I'm just saying that, you do see it, and all my neighbors use it. Unfortunately, I don't use it.
That explains why you act the way you do.
Maybe I should try it, right? I'll try it after I get off tonight. We'll see what happens. Is that like swallowing the alcohol? Let me see. Is there anything else here?
I just wanted to call that to our attention because that just, I would hate to see a lawsuit come back on the town because we allowed it to happen, that's all.
Well, you can use everything else on the list but that.
Well, or we get a.
Do we have a line item veto?
Or we get a liability disclaimer from them.
This is not a town approval. This is state approval.
Right.
This has to go through the state, and because it's the railroad. The towns don't have anything to do with the railroad other than having the tracks go through its borders. This is
we don't have to vote on it either.
Right,
No.
exactly. This is informational.
Right.
So if anybody has any questions about the material used, that they should contact the Department of Agriculture and, request this document because it has all the documents. As a matter of fact, why don't we just post the document on the website so that people can look at it, because we do have a railroad that does traverse the width of the town. So post it, let people look at it. And if they want to, have anything to say to the state, there's all the phone numbers there.
Perfect. Good idea, Mr. McDonald.
Will do.
All right, TEC Associates, they are. All right. That being said, we need a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting,
And next meeting is the 11th of May, next Monday.
okay. Do we have an executive session?
Not currently planned.
Okay.
All right, but we will have a long meeting. We've got two boards and two committees. And
Boards, and we have the host community agreement company coming in.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
With that, I'll be able to get a haircut.
Can we start earlier? We can't start earlier?
You can
No.
start, whenever you want, but I think it would be tough with the other boards.
Why don't we start at 6 and we can knock off some of our stuff and then go into the joint meeting at 6:30.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
I read your mind. I've been watching too many BVO commercials on
Yeah.
Facebook.
I'm getting a headache watching them.
How do you think I feel?
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately.
I just feel
You should get
sorry
your
for John.
brother- You should get your brother to do a couple. Farmer Joe. All right, so, Mr. McGinnis, right, 6 o'clock?
I'll
May
set the
11th?
agenda for 6 o'clock, yes.
Yep. 3 days before my birthday. Everyone, just wanted to mention that, by the way.
You're gonna be 110?
Oh, 120.
Well, we should have a little, we'll have it on the website. How old is Mr. Mickelson?
I don't think anybody's computers can go that high.
All right, now, everybody, I don't like me being made sport of, but with that being said, we need to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, none. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next week.